Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring the legendary Inticity in charge of the Vampire Coast up against Sota and the Wood Elf forces. Should be a really fun matchup. I'm pretty excited to see how this one has changed due to the recent changes to both Wood Elves and Vampire Coast, who did get a pretty substantial nerf all round, but I still think they're going to be a very top tier faction, although perhaps Skaven have stolen their top spot. A lot of their troops, including the zombie pirate gunnery mobs in general, have had a reduced unit size from 120 down to 90, so I have to see if that does affect the battle much at all. But let's hop in here and have a little look at the builds. So for the forces of Inticity, we do have zombie pirate deckhand mobs dotted all along the front line, cheap and cheerful, here to absorb damage and probably going to be filled with quite a few arrows very early on. They don't trade terribly as well with some of the Wood Elf infantry, as it does tend to be rather lightly armoured. In the secondary line, we do have a contingent of handgunners dotted along. Looks like 3 units to be precise. And the flanks are going to be protected as well by some pole armor variants of the deckhand mobs. Really good stuff to try and stop cavalry and the like. The heavy hitters of this build, though, as always, are going to be the deck gunners, including the Shade Wraith gunners, one of my personal favourites in this matchup due to their ethereal status. And these guys have really long range, which is super useful. Coming in at a whopping 245 is going to allow them to outrange a lot of the Elven archery. And because, as we said earlier, elves are pretty squishy, these guys can trade very cost-effectively up against Glade Guard, do a decent job against Waywatchers, Deepwood Scouts, and the like, and with a big fat core of them here. And on babysitting duty, going to be protecting them, is the Lamprey's Revenge, one of the stickiest units in the game. Regiment renowned Rotting Prometheans with some really badass colour schemes and skulls on the back of their shells there. Coming with regeneration is going to make them particularly pesky to deal with. For leadership reasons, we do indeed have Count Noctilus, it would seem, down on foot. And he's going to be quite powerful once again on foot, I think, with the new changes to Foot Lords in general. And he's going to be coming in with the, stuff to be expected. Captain Roth's Moon Dial, Wraith Storm, Invocation of the Heck for nice healing, and Drowned Dead. It wouldn't be an undead build without a nice little bit of summoning. Hidden in the trees as well, we do have a cool contingent of Scurvy Dogs, 4 units to be precise. And a really well-rounded build, going to be basically trying to protect this backline as much as possible while they pick apart the Wood Elf forces. Now, for the Wood Elves, we do have a bucket ton of Glade Guard, which is to be expected, dotted all the way along. Coming in with pretty decent range of themselves, should be able to get rid of bombers and handgunners and the like rather quickly. We have Deepwood Scouts as well, moving their way through the trees. For the main battle line, we are going to have a ton of Dryads, although it looks like they are kind of dotted along the line here. So going for quite wide formation, including the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart. These guys do indeed have Frostbite, which is pretty useful all round, slowing down the enemy, going to allow them to be even more pesky in that back line. And Dryads in general have had a speed increase, so it should allow them to push through and shut down an enemy that's a little bit quicker. We do have Glade Riders with spears as well, dotted along, although it looks like none of them are in Vanguard. They're kind of just all dotted along the line quite happily. I'd like to see just, one kind of hidden behind the enemy for a little bit of sneaky stabbings. For Lord, we do have Drycha as well. She, the mad, crazy tree lady herself, is pretty good in this matchup because of the Roused to Wrath is very, very powerful. Allows her to summon some Dryads behind the enemy lines. Also coming in with the spells Enfeebling Foe, as well as Melkov's Mystifying Miasma. And apart from that, it looks like that's pretty much the build, so relatively simple stuff. Bomb rush with the Dryads and Glade Riders, and allow the archers to do the rest. So without further ado, let's get in here and see how this battle does go. The Shade Wraith Gunners do unleash a volley early on, doing some pretty nice damage straight away into those Glade Guard. We pick them apart and you can see just a couple of volleys and the unit is going to be offline. But the archers now are in range of the hand gunners, and that's going to be their focus of attention, trying to bring these guys down as quickly as possible. And it looks like Count Noctilus as well. It's going to be taking a few shots. Maybe we actually have some Waywatchers hidden in the trees as well. We do indeed. We do have a couple of Waywatchers in that centre. Going to be focusing down at the Lord, the Man, the Myth, the Legend himself. Now, Waywatchers have had a slight decrease to their accuracy, so that first few volleys do miss Count Noctilus for the most part, but it looks like Scurvy Dogs are going to be trapping in Drycha here where possible with their mass to try and allow Count Noctilus to catch up, but in come the Glade Riders, and it looks like Count Noctilus is going to decide to actually fall back at this point, as the Melkov's Mystifying Miasma is also popped on some deckhand mobs. Looks like we do have our first Drycha summon as well, as the Dryads do appear in the back lines, once again going to be used to hunt down the hand gunners, which is a good target, but there is currently no pressure on the back lines here in the deck gunners, who are having free reign at the moment just to unleash hell. As you can see, not massive kills across the board, but big HP damage for sure, as they obliterate some of the fast movers of the Wood Elves, the Glade Riders, in order to protect these Scurvy Dogs, who have managed to hop into the back line and are feasting happily here on Deepwood Scouts and Waywatchers and the like. Good play so far by both players. The Dryads have been caught up now in a mixture of scurvy dogs, just being used with Invocation Heck to keep them alive and kind of try and pin in the Dryads where possible. Count Noctilus has taken an absolute hammering, however. Glade Guard now focus firing him down alongside those Way Watchers. Down to just 1,200 health. Enfeebling Foe has been popped on him. There is nothing to follow up here yet. Dryad just kind of just dawdling around. She needs to get over here and do some pretty decent damage to him. In the back lines, you can see the Lamprey's Revenge haven't been used yet. They're just being kind of kept in deep reserve to help protect these units. Although it looks like one unit of Glade Riders has managed to shut down some of the Depth Gunners, but good scurvy dog play here has brought them back into the fold and are deleting some of these Glade Riders, which is good stuff. Lamprey's Revenge do manage to intercept Dryads on the other flank. And this Firebase is doing some pretty insane damage now, firing into Dryads in the back line as scurvy dogs once again wreak havoc through that back line. Up to 64 kills, hunting down some Glade Guard. Soon to bounce over to these Way Watchers, no doubt. Although, Judge is still going pretty strong here in the central area. Not doing too bad, hunting down at deckhand mobs, but she's getting pinned in by pretty, insignificant forces. These guys aren't worth a lot of money at all. And that's going to pin her in, allowing these handgunners to unleash hell upon her. They're not going to mind too much if they hit friendly foes either. Looks like we do have some Deepwood Scouts as well as Glade Guard, though, pushing up on this left-hand side where the Wood Elves are finding a little bit more success. Now popping in and can start to tie down the deck gunners, although it looks like they are going to focus down at the Lamprey's Revenge for the most part, doing some pretty decent damage to them, as Count Noctilus does pop a lovely summon here. Zombie pirate deckhand mobs are hopping into these Glade Guard and Deepwood Scouts, going to be forcing them back from the main engagement. And if we have an overarching view of the battlefield, you can see the Wood Elves have finally sorted out their back line here with the help of the Glade Riders, who could be a big problem in the late game here if they can pop into this back line. Looks like we also have some Glade Guard returning to the field, although it looks like most of the Way Watchers unfortunately have been forced off as the zombies do start to pour in onto the Glade Guard now. They are of course just a summon, so they're not going to be able to be here for too long. Glade Guard probably want to pull back and retreat for now. At the moment, it looks like they are still raining hell down upon the Lamprey's Revenge. Glade Riders do try to go straight down the gullet here and charge directly down the line, but do get obliterated by the Shade Wraith Gunner. It's going to be very interesting to see how much damage they did across the battle. Wraiths of the Frozen Heart are pushing up with the second Dryad summon as well. Once again, finishing off those hand gunners, but it's the deck gunners where the Wood Elves really need to kind of get into. Although the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart have now managed to shut one unit down. They should be able to chew through them relatively quickly, but in come the Lamprey's Revenge, which is some scary stuff for these Dryads. They may be magical beasts indeed, but Lamprey's Revenge is an incredibly tanky unit, all said and done. So they're coming in doing some pretty decent damage as well, still up to 7 models, although Dryads are now starting to pour on to the Shade Wraith Gunners, and of course Dryads, like all Forest Spirits, do come with that glorious magic damage. Should be able to chew through these guys relatively comfortably, but they are forced off and routed here by a rear attack from some scurvy dogs. There's a nice Archer Corps though is back alive and available here for the forces of the Wood Elves. We're going to continue now to delete units as they go. More Dryads pouring in from all directions, and could be quite key here. We do indeed have 20 Way Watchers who have returned back into the fold. These guys can do some pretty huge damage and need to be targeted down as soon as possible. Glade Riders have been shattered though completely, and it looks like a few bullets are flying into the Way Watchers now, doing some pretty nice damage. And yeah, these guys are only going to survive 1 or 2 volleys before they are forced back, and Dryads pour in once more. This is an incredibly close game so far. Dryad is now surrounded here by the Lamprey's Revenge. Deck Gunners, though, are nearly sorted out for good. It looks like we do have a duel of the heroes here, and Enfeebling Foe Count Noctilus isn't want to stand here too long isolated, but with those nasty crabs nearby, I'm sure they can come in, say hello, and yeah, Dryad's just going to be like, you know what, I'm out. I really don't want to deal with this today. And she's going to fall back towards her archery line, which is a good play in my opinion, as the Glade Guard now starting to rack up decent kills, up to over 113, and most of the Deck Gunners have been dealt with by these really good, consistent pressure from the Dryads throughout. It's a very good play as well from Intensity, though, to keep these guys on live and active as long as he has done so far. The Dryads are going to be able to seal the deal here and finish up those Deck Gunners, but there's still the Lamprey's Revenge to deal with, as well as a relatively healthy Count Noctilus, and the ammunition on these archers is getting incredibly low here for the Wood Elves, and there's not too much here to return for them either. 6 Way Watchers who will probably break as soon as they get back to the main fray, and 32 Dryads. They're going to be pretty key, I suppose, in hunting down some of the remnants of this force. You can see Deepwood Scouts even having to get their hands dirty here with rotting flesh, and it'd be quite horrible fighting zombies all round, to be honest. But they did a good job. Over in the distance, we can see Dreicher is running for the hills as the Lamprey's Revenge just simply absorb all this firepower, and that regeneration and heavy 120 armor is really going to keep them alive and active for a decent amount of time as a Wraith Storm does come in, focusing down the healthiest unit of Dryads, which is a good idea. Try to make them weaker, so when the main engagement does kick off, they're all going to simply break and run for the hills, and you can see the last bits of ammunition have now been used up, with kind of one volley left from the Wood Elves, and Dreicher is fleeing for her lives. Looks like she's indeed routing at this point, and this is really good play as well. Count Noctis, of course, can't capture, but he wants to stay as close as possible to these pesky Crabos, and, you know, chase her off the field, because that's a long way to run yet, and this entire time they are going to be regenerating health as well, which will help deal with this main blob, and balance power is very close to army losses now. There's simply nothing left with enough AP to really break through the Lamprey's Revenge. Even without Count Noctis here, they would probably be able to bring down the rest of this force, and in the distance, it looks like Way Watchers have indeed shattered as well, and poor Dreicher getting shot by those shotguns on the back of the Crabs, and it looks like army losses is going to set in there, and it's going to be a Pyrrhic victory for the Vampirates. Really awesome game. Massive shout out to Anticity for sending this one in via my Discord, and to Sotter as well for a fantastic game. A very, very tight affair indeed. Now guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. But yeah, awesome stuff. So, played out pretty similar to how this used to play between Vampire Coast and Wood Elves. The main heavy hitters for the Vampire Coast, of course, being the deck gunners, and if you can keep them alive and active for a long time, we'll have a little look here, you can see they do pretty ridiculous damage. Now, not the craziest damage value, but still, you know, over 1,000 on a lot of the units, but look at that HP damage they've done. 5,000, 5,800, 6,000, 5,900, it's scary stuff, and taking away the range core of the Wood Elves really takes away a lot of their punch. At the same time, Wood Elves certainly have a few more tools now, Dreicher being a particularly good lord here for the summons, that did pretty good as well, helping shut down the handgunners, but also the Glade Riders. These guys, pretty humble, not too expensive at all, but I think just one unit maybe deployed in Vanguard into the late game to pop in and shut down the fire base of the coast a little bit earlier would have maybe swung that game. And Anticity actually sent in a couple of games between him and Sota, and it was really back and forth, really close games with both of them winning some. So yeah, I think it's a very, very even matchup now, and a pretty high risky one, quite high micro intensive. As we saw, the one slip up from the Wood Elves allowed the Scurvy Dogs to push in on that left flank, and some of them got shut down by the Glade Riders, but other ones coming in here getting, you know, over 1,000 damage value from a pack of Scurvy Dogs is very impressive stuff all round. If you guys want to see your replays up on my channel, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link down below, as well to my Discord, sorry, where you can send replays, as other links to different ways you can support the channel via Patreon and the like to help fuel my hot chocolate addiction. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.